Securities offered through Cetera Advisor Networks, LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through CWM, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Cetera Advisor Networks, LLC is under separate ownership from any other named entity. Carson Partners, a division of CWM, LLC, is a nationwide partnership of advisors. This is The Way to Wealth, with host Scott Ford, a jiu-jitsu fighting, woodworking, beekeeping entrepreneur who is also the managing director, partner, and wealth advisor of Carson Wealth. Financial freedom is the goal, and clarity and simplicity is how we'll get there. Let's get to it. This is Way to Wealth.
Hello, and welcome back to the Way to Wealth podcast, where we're all about making money simple, allowing you to fully live and to fully live now. So when you think of health, wealth, wisdom, and happiness, under happiness, I talk about having a dream that you can contribute. Well, the first thing I talk about is having healthy relationships, and that they're some of our best teachers and opportunity to grow. But really, happiness in my mind comes from having healthy relationships, having a dream or purpose that you feel like you're contributing to, and then being grateful. Like, there are three key components of happiness. And I wanted to talk about purpose because you've done so well at this, and having a dream and having a purpose. And not only is it for you, it gives other team members something to plug into, and like they need that for their happiness. And so I want to spend some time talking about purpose. I know for me, and I'll just start there briefly, I'm doing it. I'm living it. Like, for whatever reason, I came into this space of wealth and finances because I had an interest, and now it's clearer than ever of what it's for. It's about well-being. It's about healing. That's the whole game. And so they're coming to get financially healed. We got a process for that. It's called the Way to Wealth. And that's what they want. What they really need, again, is this overall sense of well-being in all areas of life. And so thinking a dream, I mean, what are they wanting? We all want to be happy. Well, why are we not? Because things aren't going to make you happy. So focusing on this and just helping people think about it, I'm living my purpose. And that is helping 1,000 business owners like me build to exit and help them live a life of health, wealth, wisdom, and happiness. Angie and I made this part of our trust document. We've come up with core values and a mission. I mean, this is truly what I'm here to do, not leaving to my kids and grandkids, but then these 1,000 business owners, really helping them live a life of abundance of health, wealth, wisdom, and happiness. So thinking of a dream to contribute to, this is mine, and thinking about it's all about healing. That's what Angie and I are up to. We're working on a healing center. We're working with indigenous people and indigenous cultures, going back to what wisdom did they have that we forgot. And I'll give you one example of that. You can think about the U.S. Constitution, and the U.S. Constitution, when you do the research, was actually part of that development and founding came from the Iroquois Nation, the Iroquois Native American Nation. And it was called the Great Law of Peace. And Benjamin Franklin and others counseled with them, of the elders, of because it was around for a long time before the U.S. Constitution, and work. And it was like, what worked and what didn't? And they learned from it. They left two things out. One of them was the 7th generation rule. So I'm bringing that back. That's one of my dreams that I'm contributing to, is the 7th generation rule. The 7th generation rule is, before they made any decision, how's it going to affect 7 generations from now? Not only their family, everyone's family, because we all are one family, and the animals, the plants, the water. How's this affect 7 generations from now? We left that out of ours. And it's like, so now we can co-create and bring that back. And the second thing they left out was the power and role of women, specifically women elders. We left out of our Constitution. So anyway, this is my dream. This is what Angie and I are working on. And so I just think it's critically important to have one. And me living mine, I want to help 1,000 other business owners and entrepreneurs have theirs, because what difference can that make to this planet and us as human beings for legacies and futures to come? So on that, what are your thoughts on, because you've lived it, you are living it, you are it. What do you think of purpose and a dream?
Yeah, man. No, everything you said, Scott, like we're so in tune with that. Yeah, the purpose, like I'm 57 years old and I pop out of bed today with so much energy and excitement. And really, people say, "Oh, Ron, you work so hard." And I say, "I don't work at all." Because my purpose is, I don't think as work and play is play. I think all of it's just living my life. I think it's a crazy idea that someone is going to do something maybe their whole life that they don't like, so they can get this sliver of time called retirement that they can do what they love. How messed up is that? Let's go back and rewire. Let's have a purpose. And we teach something at Carson called the blueprinting process. Live your life by design, not by default. It's a hard process to go through because you know who it's hardest being honest with?
Yes.
It's you,
Yes.
yourself. This is where you can pull your ego and your soul together. So they're pulling in the same direction because their ego is always in the way, always trying to protect what it thinks is in our best interest because it's only working with our conscious mind. Very limited amount of information. Our soul, who has been with us forever, and you can decide for you what that means, right? It's going to be with us forever.
Yep.
It's like it's crying for a much higher evolution and impact, and that's purpose, right? It's our daily purpose.
Yes.
That's why Maslow, in his hierarchy of needs, Scott, was so perfect, because you can't go to the next until you solve this. We talked about it, financially free. I want to make sure that I've got food, water, shelter.
Yes.
Unless you have that, you're spending all day thinking about that. So once you get it, pretty soon we're self-actualization. We get this purpose bigger than ourselves. And I love the piece about I never heard that before, Scott. But wow, think of our world if we thought that way. A, B, I can't think of a greater amount of love for humanity to be thinking about people that we'll never talk to, that will never know us, probably, and that we're making these decisions. So I love to say, your why should be so powerful. What's your personal mission statement? What is it you want to accomplish? And I'm big on setting goals. Every year, yesterday morning, I was going through my goals for the year. Go out 20, 15, 10, 5, 3, 1. And then I do the 6 most vital one. I got right here. First this morning was my gratitude meditations, and then this with you. But I am very regimented in that. But it all is connected to my purpose, which is all about what kind of impact can we leave in this earth. And it invigorates me. I have more energy, more excitement, more everything at 57 than I did at 37. And it's all driven by purpose. What is my purpose? What is our purpose?
Yeah, you're congruent, 100%. And I've watched it, right? We've known each other 20 years. So I've watched you live it. And you're not just saying it, not only living it, but just, I can see someone who's more excited now and congruent than someone I knew 20 years from now. So you're not just saying it, you're living it. And it's beautiful. And the point is we're sharing, and I'm sharing you with this wisdom for those listeners. It's doable. Like, just do what's being shared. It's so true. And you think of a dream, you can think of it this way too, because some people struggle with, what is my dream? And you said it, blueprinting can be tough because we're the easiest people to fool when we're working on ourselves, right? And it was Steve Jobs that said in his commencement speech that one of the benefits of becoming terminally ill for him was he quit caring what other people thought. Like, you know what? Life's too short. Don't care. And not in a dump on them way, just I'm going to be me. And if you like it, that's great. And if you don't, that's great. I'm going to be me. And I think that's actually beautiful. So another thing to think about is if you can't think of your dream, well, what's the opposite? What would be your nightmare, or what stresses you out? And maybe that helps you get clear on, well, I don't like that. Then what is my dream? Einstein once said, I made note of this, your dreams are a snapshot of your future. In other words, when you're clear on your dreams, believe in yourself and your dreams and take action, you're very likely to experience your dreams. So this stuff works. So when you think of dreams and your legacy, there's multiple facets to look at. And Ron's exactly right. He's created a blueprinting exercise. I've done it. I have no idea how many times, but a lot. And every time I do it, it gets clearer for me. And every time I do it, it is difficult work. It's introspection and deep thinking and Am I really being affected, even by your spouse or kids or others? It's a good question to ask. Be congruent with yourself to get there. So some of the things to think about, I'll just mention, like what income would you want to have, and what geographic location, what working conditions do you want? I mean, Ron's living he's in Aspen, and I built a dream house for Angie and I in West Virginia. What people do you want to be around? What values are there? So I got 2 comments on that. So I think of people. I did an exercise not that long ago, and the exercise was this bullseye picture. And on the center of the bullseye, like dead center bullseye, the comment was, if you have one, you are unbelievably blessed. If you have more than one in this bullseye, there's no words for how blessed you are. And the comment to that is, who do you have you would die for, and who do you have that would die for you? They would take a bullet for you, literally. And I have that. And that's just, it was just real clarifying for me to do this exercise. And I put the names in that bullseye. And then right outside the bullseye was called trusted network. And the comment here was, who do you have that at 3 a.m. you could call, and as long as their phone was accessible, or vice versa, and you said, I am in need, they show up, no questions to ask, their trusted network, like they got your back truly. And in there, you may have 10 to 12, maybe 5 to 7. And then outside of that, kind of got your tribe. And this is getting bigger to maybe 150 people. And these people are there for you, but you're not going to call them at 3 a.m. and they're going to show up, but they're there for you. And then outside of that, you have, followers, and then you kind of get it broader out to the world, right? The clarifying piece for that to me was, wow, well, there's people that, candidly, there was people I would take a bullet for that were probably in my tribe, vice versa, right? It's an interesting dynamic. And then there were people trusted network. It was real clarifying to recognize our most valuable resource is time, and who do we choose to spend that with is really impactful for our lives and theirs. And that's when that light bulb went on off for me. So anyway, I share the exercise because it was impactful for me, that maybe audience, you can listen to that to think about who are the people that you want to really make sure with your most valuable resource, which is your time, that you give them that, and vice versa. What are your thoughts?
That some perspective. Like I remember you shared this with me, and I think it's so powerful. But I think people, I'll come back to me and Jeannie. We would go through our life, and we'd have people in that bullseye, and sometimes they move. And I think that we should celebrate the fact we used to. I'll give you a good example. We had a couple that was in our wedding. We were in their wedding, they were in our wedding, but our lives became so different that we got together out of obligation, not out of feeding each other's energy. And it was every so often we had this people that used to be in the bullseye that really weren't anymore, but no one really acknowledged that. But we were still investing that kind of time. And I had this epiphany. It's like people come in and out of our lives for different times and different reasons. And even to be celebrated, the fact that, hey, it was beautiful, and we shouldn't try to hold on to something that's not serving both sides. I think any relationship is about each other making deposits, in the relationship bucket. Does it make us better? Does it elevate our energy? Do we feel enlightened and nurtured and educated? And are you with people, if you're curious, that are curious with you? And then that changes, and say, don't hold on to that and say, I need to pull it forward because it'll exhaust you. But say, hey, that relationship could come back into the bullseye. I think that's what's interesting is people are moving around. Don't try to hold what society says, oh, you should do this out of obligation, but listen to your heart. That's why I think, you got to live a little bit in the future, right? But I'm all about living in the present moment, and just evaluating where you're at with those relationships all the time, because managing that energy, the energy sphere that you allow to get close to you, is important. And if you're pulling along dead weight or negative energy, because sometimes it will turn negative, it's just an unhealthy thing to try and do in life. I think, life is beautiful, but it takes a lot of effort, and taking, negative baggage, your relationships that don't serve you, can very quickly cause you to have little or no progress because emotionally you're just drained.
Yeah, that is great perspective. I mean, very well said. And thanks for sharing that. Spot on. And thinking about it is just that. It's because you're just recognizing that, yeah, they were in the bullseye and now they may be in the tribe. And that's great. There's no angst there. That's that idea of being in flow of this is just what is, and there's no judgment on it. This is just recognition. Yet if you don't, what you said, now you're forcing, you're not flowing, you're forcing them back into the bullseye where they're not. It's life ebbs and flows. And so recognizing that, okay, so maybe just not as much time spent. You still love them. You'll still see them. You're just not forcing to spend a bunch of time. And that's great for both parties. So that's such a good exercise. And that's such good perspective that you're sharing and shared there. When I think of values, when I think of purpose, because this is something that I think is critically important. When you think of a dream and you think of purpose, it really needs to align with your values, and that can get mismatched. Again, you have to get honest with yourself. And I'm going to tie this together with everything. I'm going to tie this together with the wealth management and what we do, and the healthy, wealthy, wise, and happy. My perspective, Ron, is that a lot of times in every industry, including ours, people and professionals hear about 30, if we're lucky, 40% of the agenda or the real agenda, and then launch into solutions. And what they really should be doing is hearing the last 10 to 5% of the agenda and the conversation and the depth of what's really going on below the iceberg that they're not even talking about yet. Then the solutions are obvious. They present themselves as professionals. So like, that's what you want to solve for. So to me, thinking about like values as a family first. Okay. So this is back to that 7-generation thinking a little bit. So if you can think about your family values and your family mission and who you are and what you've learned, and document those, with those we'll end up tying to business values, and with those that determine what you do with your money, et cetera, et cetera. And then that's what you would use to draft a will or estate and the kind of legacy you want to leave. But it takes time to do that. So again, getting to that less 5% as a family, so you're real clear on your values. Now you can make sure that's congruent with your dream and your purpose and your spouses and family. To me, that's the best starting point. To me, that's what makes it all work, is the values.
I agree, Scott. And this is something I'm super excited about. And that's what I love about being curious. I mean, I always find every day new things I'm excited about. And you turned me on, and something we're doing together is this family constitution. So I mean, really getting that tied in. And I see the family constitution as being a way of really getting the decisions you make for the 7 generations in the future. Because if you don't have that document, if you don't have that way of existing, I think it can be pretty hard trying to even pass those decisions on, to the next generation. Because I think we can impact probably 2 generations, right? Our kids and then our grandchildren, maybe our great grandchildren. But a long ways off from the 7 generations that we want to be taking care of.
Yeah, 100%. It was like, I think it was James Hughes who wrote the book Family Wealth. He's a well-known attorney in this space. And and I know you've heard this, but it's the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, or, other countries, rice paddies, the 3 generations. The point is, it doesn't make it to the 3rd. And his whole thesis on this, where he came to his conclusion, is it's 100% communication. So the values and the thinking's what's not passed on. It's easy to pass the money on, but that's not going to last if you don't pass on the deep values and the thinking that created that money. And the gap there is communication, which is exactly what this whole 7-generation thinking and this whole family constitution or family declaration, like, that's what this is all about. So that's my dream. That's tying all this, the indigenous, into healthy, wealthy, wise, and happy, which ties to money. That's what this whole podcast is about. So any other additional thoughts or things you would want to share, Ron?
So with our kids, we told them ever since they were very little that you're not going to really get much. So go make it yourself. And our kids have been so on board with that, and they've done so well. Buffett had a quote. I thought it was so good. At one point, one of the richest men in the universe, he said, "I want to give my kids so much, enough they can do anything, but not so much they can do nothing." And because a little bit of help really goes a long way. The world, unfortunately, is not created equal. I wish it were. It's just not, and that's a reality. And so some help can really, really have a profound acceleration in how people can have their own impact. But just leaving somebody a lot of money, and you and I have both seen this, it is ugly. And if it doesn't come with the idea that this isn't yours to spend, you're a steward of this, and here's the instructions from past generations that have helped accumulate this. This is kind of impact we've all decided. Don't mess it up on your what, right? That's the kind of impact that Jeannie and I want to send to our kids through our charitable foundation, and then on to our grandkids, and then on and on and on. I just love the work we're doing, Scott, because I see a lot of miserable people. I mean, I'm in Aspen. There's billionaires all around me, and some of them are really loving life and have really done the work, because it does take work, right? There's just you got to put some effort into it. But most of them are just they're on that hedonistic treadmill of more, and they don't enjoy themselves, and they're miserable, and they're hoarders. That's the other thing I would change if I could wave a magic wand. Is I think hoarding wealth to hoard wealth for many generations is, and I know this isn't going to be popular with some people, but I'm not a liberal. I don't believe our government's solution at all. I mean, they are there's necessary on some level, but it's up to you and I for us to awaken giants that have influence and wealth that can help fix our country's problems. I mean, we're all human. We're all people. There is no baby comes into this world with hatred. I've got a little grandson who's 9 months old. I have a 3-year-old, and they are a beautiful, clean slate. They don't see color. They don't see anything wrong with anybody. They love everybody. And I have real great hope that we can get there as a society. And I think this next young generation has a lot more information because of things like the internet. I think they do communicate better. And I couldn't be more bullish or excited for humanity because of the work that you and I are doing. And it's a butterfly effect, like a little flap here. We're going to have a profound impact on the world. And it's great that we get to help people with their finances, but it's really awakening those people to a higher purpose of their, and the tool that they've been blessed with, wealth, that it can have on the world and on this planet is profound.
It is extremely profound. So heartfelt thank you. Your wisdom would go a long way with this audience. You've lived it, you've done it. So those of you who don't know you personally, I can attest to that. So that's truth and wisdom when someone is living it and congruent. Ron is. So thanks for joining the Way to Wealth podcast. And it is so exciting to think about helping, in my numbers, 1,000 business owners building to exit. And that's the ultimate goal, is to awaken them to make it, because they're impactors, they're making a difference. And that's where I think we can change the wave going in making it go in the right direction for 7 generations to come. So thanks for your time, Ron. Look forward to doing this again at some point. And listeners, thanks for joining the Way to Wealth podcast, where we're all about making money simple. Why? So that you can fully live, and you can fully live now. See you next episode.
The opinions voiced in Way to Wealth with Scott Ford, Managing Director, Partner, and Wealth Advisor of Carson Wealth, are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. To determine what may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial, or tax advisor prior to investing. The Legato family is not affiliated with Cetera Advisor Networks, LLC, or CWM, LLC. Carson Wealth, 19833 Leitersburg Pike, Suite 1, Hagerstown, Maryland 21742.